Had this wonderful idea of asking Dr. Tanya Whyte to introduce Professor Greenberg, because she has written a whole dissertation on him. She is the expert, and that was just a perfect constellation. The dissertation was written at our department here at the Department for Jewish Philosophy, and as it always is, with the best plans and the perfect ideas, Tanya couldn't come here tonight because she has a family celebration, and that is really important. Mazal tov to Tanya. But, you know, we are living in the age of technology and, you know, virtual reality, so we have recorded her. Okay, so I apologize that it is a recording, but I think it's, you know, second best, very close to her, having her here, and this is what she has to say about our guest.
Good evening. Being British, I think it's apt that I'm going to begin with an apology. Whilst I would have loved nothing better to be there introducing my mentor, rabbi, role model, and thought leader in person, I also know that at present it's imperative to celebrate every simcha we can, and therefore tonight instead I'm attending 2 smachot. However, I'm both humbled and happy that Hanoch asked me to introduce Rabbi Greenberg, or as his students know him, Rav Yitz, this evening, since it gives me the opportunity not only to explain why I believe his thought to be imperative at this time, but also to express a deep hakarat hatov to him for the insight and wisdom he has brought to me personally, and I know thousands of others. Rabbi Yitz Greenberg has a very full resume that includes hundreds of projects, articles, and books, positions of importance, and significant things he's achieved in the long span of his career as a Jewish leader. In his earlier years, he served as the Jewish chaplain of Brandeis University, the rabbi of Riverdale Jewish Center, an associate professor of history at Yeshiva University, and as a founder, chairman, and professor in the Department of Jewish Studies at City College of New York. He is a world-renowned Holocaust theologian, a beloved rabbi and teacher, the president and founder of Klal, founding president of the Steinhardt Foundation, the executive director of the President's Commission on the Holocaust, which conceived and created the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., pioneer in interfaith dialogue between Jewish and Christian groups, and now the president of the J.J. Greenberg Institute for the Advancement of Jewish Life. He is also a senior scholar in residence at Hadar and on the faculty of Yeshivat Chovevei Torah. Yet these accolades only scratch the surface of who Rav Yitz is. Rabbi Abraham Yeshua Heschel spoke about there being textbook and text people, things we learn from a book and things we learn through observing and watching a person. Rav Yitz is both. His thought, as you will hear this evening, is both profound and revolutionary. But perhaps even more inspiring is that he is a text person, someone who lives, breathes, and exemplifies the core ideas of his thought. He sees the Tselem Elokim in each human being and treats them with the utmost dignity and respect. He is humble yet assertive in his activism for Jews and non-Jews alike. The word mensch was created for him. His relationship with his wife, Blue, is nothing short of inspiring. Their mutual reverence, respect, and pride for each other, as well as their joint activism, spanning many decades, has made the world a better place. In terms of the text book, his philosophy offers a novel and some might say radical reading of Jewish history and theology. In his recently released magnum opus, The Triumph of Life, which I recommend every person to read, he explores the Jewish journey and the relationship between man and God through the prism of covenant. He combines historical academic training, empirical insights, philosophical wisdom with an erudite Torah and Talmudic knowledge to create one of the most comprehensive theological histories of the Jewish people in contemporary literature. Rav Yitz is an evolutionary thinker. Being self-critical and deeply thoughtful, he has, over many years, revised, built on, and reformulated his theology. It also has not been without controversy. In his early essay of 1982, The Voluntary Covenant, he uses the image of a broken covenant to describe the relationship between God and his people in a post-Holocaust age. Being such a cataclysmic event, Rav Yitz argues God rescinds his side of the covenantal contract and therefore cannot demand anymore the subservience of his people to his law. However, instead of rejecting God, says Rav Yitz, the Jewish people respond by affirming their covenantal commitment. And thus, the covenant becomes what he terms voluntary. The image of the broken covenant was not taken too kindly by many within the Orthodox milieu into which he was situated, and he was the recipient of some harsh criticism. Over time, he constructs a far-reaching Jewish theology in which he posits the relationship between the humans and the divine as part of a three-era covenantal development in which humans are increasingly given more and more responsibility and freedom to uphold the divine mandate of life. That is why the Holocaust was so deeply shattering, because it was an assault not just on the Jews, but through its focus on dehumanization on the principle of life itself. Thus, Rav Yitz's early Holocaust theology, shaped in many ways by his own personal shock and shattering, is filled with images of burning children and the appraisal that nothing can or should be said theologically about the event. But over time, he begins to situate the event within a much wider context and offers a much more melioristic outlook. Today, Rav Yitz will share with you the foundation and principles that comprise this theology. However, I want to end with the following. For 7 years, I was immersed in researching Holocaust theology. Empirically and epistemologically, the Holocaust was an absolute shattering and a rupture, both for those that went through it and for many who lived in its shadow. On October the 7th, my generation had their Holocaust moment. And though we must be extremely cautious in comparing events, I know for myself and many others it was a total shattering, a cataclysmic moment of rupture. Not only because the images and the stories were so utterly horrifying and unimaginable, and not only because the event was so unprecedented in this generation, both quantitatively and qualitatively, perhaps even more profoundly, because it shattered so many of our accepted cognitive and theological assumptions. If Israel was the response to the Holocaust, a safe haven for Jews, where finally we could defend ourselves on our own sovereign soil, what happens when that dream dissipates before our eyes? If Israel, in the language of many religious Zionists, was the Athalta de Geula, the beginning of the redemption, and Zionism is the human response to the divine call, why does God not keep his side of the bargain as we kept ours? And yet, what we witnessed in the late hours of October the 7th and October the 8th onwards is precisely in line with Rav Yitz's theology. On the heels of a death-obsessed fundamentalist attack, we witnessed, in an almost counterintuitive manner, an entire nation rise up and affirm life in every way possible. Rav Yitz's thought kept me sane through some personal challenges I faced while writing my doctorate, and continues, and I think more than ever today, to be an edifying voice for myself and so many others in these tumultuous, unprecedented times we are experiencing. I am sure tonight he will do the same for all of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Rav Yitz to share, Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, to share his thoughts and theology on the question of triumphing life tonight.